Every single morning, you are handed something no one else on this earth receives: your day. Not yesterday's regrets, not tomorrow's fears, just this moment, this breath, this chance to begin again. Matthew McConaughey knows what it means to chase something bigger than yourself, to fall down and still choose to rise. He didn't just stumble into success. He fought for it, believed in it, and most importantly, he showed up for it every single morning. The alarm goes off, and the world asks you one question: are you ready? Most people hit snooze on their dreams. But not you, not today. This is your year 2026, a fresh chapter written with ink you haven't used yet. The greats don't wait for motivation to find them. They build it, brick by brick, before the sun even rises. Your mindset in the first hour of your morning sets the tone for everything that follows. So stand up, square your shoulders, and decide, right now, that today will not be wasted. You owe it to the version of yourself that dreamed this big. Let's get after it. Every single morning, the world resets. The sun doesn't rise asking whether you deserve another chance. It simply rises, and so must you. That first moment when your eyes open and consciousness floods back in, that is not an accident. That is an invitation. An invitation to step into something greater than what you were yesterday. Most people treat that moment like a burden, rolling over, pulling the covers tighter, negotiating with themselves for 5 more minutes. But those 5 minutes are not rest, they are surrender. And surrendered mornings lead to surrendered days, surrendered weeks, and eventually a surrendered life. Matthew McConaughey didn't build his legend by accident. He built it by showing up, consistently, deliberately, before the noise of the world had a chance to crowd out his vision. He understood something that very few people are willing to admit, that the morning is a battlefield, and the first enemy you face is yourself. That voice inside your head that says not today, maybe tomorrow, you're too tired, it's too early, that voice is not your friend. That voice is the architect of mediocrity, and every time you listen to it, you hand it more power than it deserves. The first hour of your morning is the purest hour you will have all day. Before the emails, before the demands, before the world starts pulling at you from every direction, there is a window of silence and stillness that belongs entirely to you. What you pour into that window matters more than most people realize. Whether it is movement, stillness, prayer, reading, or simply breathing with intention, what you do in that first hour tells your mind, your body, and your spirit what today is going to be about. You are essentially writing the headline of your day before the day has even begun. Think about water, and how it always finds the path of least resistance. Without direction, without intention, a morning will do the same. It will slip away from you effortlessly, quietly, and you won't even notice it's gone until the afternoon hits, and you wonder where the energy went. Owning your morning means creating a dam against that current. It means deciding, even before your feet hit the floor, that this day will be shaped by your hands and not by circumstance. That kind of ownership doesn't happen by chance. It is built through repetition, through commitment, through the daily act of choosing yourself first before the world makes its demands. There is a reason why the most driven, most purposeful human beings on this planet protect their mornings like sacred ground. It is not about waking up at 4 in the morning to prove something to the world. It is about waking up with meaning, with a reason that is bigger than comfort, bigger than convenience, bigger than the temporary pleasure of a few extra minutes of sleep. When your reason is strong enough, the alarm becomes irrelevant. You rise not because you have to, but because something inside you simply cannot wait to begin. That hunger, that quiet fire. It is yours to cultivate, yours to protect, and it starts the moment you decide that your morning belongs to you. And once you begin to own that first hour, something extraordinary starts to happen. A confidence builds, not the loud, performative kind, but a deep, quiet assurance that comes from knowing you showed up for yourself when it would have been easier not to. That feeling compounds. Day after day, morning after morning, it layers itself into your identity until showing up is no longer a struggle. It is simply who you are. But owning your morning is only the beginning of what it truly means to live with intention, because once the morning is yours, you are faced with an even deeper question. What are you actually waiting for? Sit with that question for a moment. Not the polished, rehearsed answer you give other people when they ask about your dreams. The real answer, the one that lives quietly in the back of your mind at 2 in the morning when the world is asleep, and it is just you and your thoughts. Most people, if they are truly honest, are not waiting for the right resources, the right connections, or the right opportunity. They are waiting for the fear to go away. They are waiting to feel ready. And here is the brutal truth that nobody wants to hear. That feeling of readiness, that perfect moment of zero doubt and total confidence, is never coming. It does not exist. It has never existed for anyone who has ever done anything worth doing. Matthew McConaughey did not wait until Hollywood handed him a golden ticket. He showed up, again and again, in rooms where people doubted him, for roles that were beneath what he believed he was capable of, through years of being typecast and underestimated. He kept moving not because the path was clear, but because standing still felt like a kind of death. There is something in that relentless forward motion, that refusal to let uncertainty become an excuse, that separates the people who build remarkable lives from the people who simply talk about building them. The difference is not talent. It is not timing. It is the willingness to begin before you are ready. Fear is clever. It does not always announce itself as fear. It disguises itself as logic, as responsibility, as patience, as wisdom. It whispers reasonable-sounding things like, wait until you have more money, wait until the kids are older, wait until the economy settles, wait until you know more. And every single one of those whispers sounds completely rational in the moment. That is what makes fear so dangerous. It does not feel like cowardice, it feels like caution. But there comes a point where caution stops protecting you and starts imprisoning you, and most people never even notice when they cross that line because the cage was built so gradually, so gently, that it felt like common sense. The messiest start is still a start. The most imperfect first step still covers ground that standing still never will. Every great story ever told, every business built from nothing, every relationship that changed someone's life, every piece of art that moved the world, began in a moment of imperfect, uncertain, slightly terrified action. Nobody begins with all the answers. Nobody launches with total clarity. The clarity comes from the motion, not before it. You do not think your way into a new life. You act your way into a new way of thinking, and the thinking catches up somewhere along the road when your hands are already dirty and your feet are already moving. There is a particular kind of regret that comes not from trying and failing, but from never trying at all. It is a heavier regret, a quieter one, and it has a way of settling into the bones over years until it becomes part of how a person carries themselves. You can see it in people. That slight heaviness, that faraway look when certain conversations come up, the dreams they describe only in past tense. McConaughey understood that failure is not the worst possible outcome. The worst possible outcome is arriving at the end of your life with a long list of what-ifs, moments where the door was open, the opportunity was real, and you chose the safety of waiting over the risk of beginning. So the question is no longer whether the moment is perfect, because it never will be. The question is whether you are willing to trade the temporary comfort of waiting for the permanent possibility of becoming. Every single day that passes is a day that cannot be reclaimed, a page that cannot be rewritten, a morning that will not come around again. The window does not stay open forever, and deep down, in the place where you are most honest with yourself, you already know exactly what it is you have been putting off. You already know the thing you keep circling back to, the idea that refuses to leave you alone, the dream that survives every attempt to be practical. And once you stop waiting and finally begin, you will quickly discover that what you were really waiting for all along was never the right moment. What does winning actually look like for you? Not for your parents, not for your colleagues, not for the carefully curated version of yourself that exists on social media, but for you, in the quiet privacy of your own heart, when no one is watching and no one is keeping score. This is one of the most important questions a human being can ever ask themselves, and yet it is one of the most consistently avoided, because answering it honestly requires a kind of courage that has nothing to do with physical bravery. It requires the courage to admit that the life you have been performing might not be the life you actually want. That the finish line you have been racing toward may have been drawn by someone else's hand, on someone else's map, for someone else's journey entirely. We live in a world that is extraordinarily loud about what success is supposed to look like. From the moment we are old enough to understand language, the definitions are handed to us. The right career, the right income, the right neighborhood, the right title on a business card. And because these definitions come from people we love, people we respect, systems we were raised to trust, we absorb them without question. We build our entire lives around chasing something we never consciously chose. And then one day, sometimes gradually, sometimes in a single shattering moment of clarity, we look around at everything we have achieved and feel an emptiness that the achievements themselves cannot fill. That emptiness is not ingratitude. It is the soul's way of telling you that you have been answering the wrong question. Matthew McConaughey walked away from the roles that were making him famous. At the height of his romantic comedy success, when the money was good and the offers were endless, he said no. He turned down project after project and sat in the discomfort of an industry that had stopped calling. People thought he was finished. What he was actually doing was something far more difficult than accepting another easy paycheck. He was getting brutally honest with himself about what kind of artist he wanted to be, what kind of legacy he wanted to leave, what winning looked like on his own terms. That silence, that willingness to lose the wrong thing in order to find the right thing, eventually led to a career renaissance that redefined him entirely. You cannot find your own finish line while you are still running someone else's race. Defining your own success is not a one-time conversation you have with yourself and then file away. It is a living, breathing commitment that requires constant revisiting because you are not the same person you were 5 years ago, and the vision that once drove you may no longer reflect who you are becoming. Growth changes the blueprint. Experience reshapes the dream. What looked like the mountaintop from the valley often turns out to be just another ridge once you get there, and that is not failure. That is evolution. The willingness to redefine success as you grow is not weakness or inconsistency. It is the mark of someone who is genuinely paying attention to their own life rather than just executing a plan that was written by a younger, less informed version of themselves. When your definition of success is truly your own. When it is rooted in your values, your purpose, your deepest sense of meaning rather than external validation, something fundamental shifts in how you move through the world. You stop performing and start living. The anxiety of comparison begins to lose its grip because you are no longer running the same race as everyone else. Other people's highlight reels stop feeling like indictments of your progress. You develop a kind of inner compass that does not depend on applause or approval to stay calibrated, and that compass becomes the most reliable guide you will ever have. It pulls you forward on the days when nothing makes sense, holds you steady when the world gets loud, and reminds you, again and again, of the only opinion about your life that ultimately matters. Write it down. Not the version that sounds impressive at dinner parties, not the version that would make your younger self look up in wide-eyed admiration, but the raw, unfiltered, genuinely yours version of what a life well lived looks like. Put it somewhere you will see it every morning, Let it be the first thing that orients you before the day tries to pull you in 17 different directions. Because a person who knows exactly what they are building is almost impossible to stop. They can be slowed, they can be knocked down, they can be doubted by everyone around them, but they cannot be truly derailed, because the destination lives inside them, and not on any external scoreboard. And once that vision is clear, once you know with bone-deep certainty what you are actually chasing, you will quickly realize that vision alone is never enough, because between where you stand and where you are going lies something far less glamorous, far less celebrated, and yet absolutely. Nobody talks about the days when the vision feels distant. Nobody posts about the mornings when the alarm goes off and the dream feels more like a burden than a calling. Nobody celebrates the Tuesday afternoon when you did the work anyway, not because you felt inspired, not because the energy was there, not because the universe sent you a sign, but simply because you decided to. Those are the moments that actually build a life. Those quiet, unglamorous, completely unwitnessed acts of showing up are the real foundation beneath every success story you have ever admired. The highlight reel the world sees is just the surface. What lives underneath it, what actually constructed it, is an endless series of days where discipline stepped in and carried the weight that motivation refused to pick up. Motivation is a beautiful thing when it arrives. It fills the room, it quickens the pulse, it makes the impossible feel not only possible but inevitable. You feel it after a powerful speech, after a conversation that lights something up inside you, after a moment of clarity so sharp it almost hurts. And in those moments you make promises to yourself, to your future, to the person you are determined to become. But motivation is a guest, not a resident. It visits, it inspires, and then it leaves. It does not call ahead, and it does not stay long. And if your entire system of forward motion depends on its presence, you will spend more time waiting for it to return than you will spend actually moving. The people who achieve extraordinary things are not people who feel motivated every day. They are people who learned, somewhere along the way, that waiting for motivation is the same as waiting for permission, and they stopped waiting. Discipline is a different animal entirely. It does not arrive with fanfare. It does not make your heart race or your eyes water. It simply stands at the door every morning, quietly, without drama, asking only one thing: will you show up today? Discipline does not care how you feel. It does not negotiate with your mood or make exceptions for your circumstances. It is the commitment you made to yourself on the day you decided what you were worth. And it holds you to that commitment even when every soft and comfortable part of you is lobbying hard for an exception. McConaughey understood this deeply. The transformation that led to his greatest work was not born in a moment of blazing inspiration. It was built in the daily, repetitive, often tedious practice of becoming, one disciplined choice at a time, long before the results were visible to anyone including himself. There is a compounding effect to discipline that most people never get to experience because they abandon the process before the returns begin to show. Every day that you do the work, you are making a deposit into an account that does not show its balance immediately. The early days feel thankless. The early weeks feel like you are pushing against a wall that has no intention of moving. But the wall is moving, imperceptibly, invisibly, molecule by molecule, and one day, without dramatic announcement, it gives. And when it gives completely. Suddenly the thing that felt impossible feels inevitable, and the person looking back at the journey cannot quite believe that they almost quit on the day before everything changed. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you are capable of becoming, and every single day you cross it, the bridge gets stronger and the distance gets shorter. The most dangerous myth in the culture of self-improvement is that successful people simply love what they do so much that the work never feels hard. That discipline comes naturally to them, that they wake up every day overflowing with the desire to grind. It is a myth that lets everyone else off the hook, and it is completely, thoroughly false. The greats feel resistance too. They have bad days, low energy days, days when the work feels hollow and the goal feels unreachable. The difference is not that they feel these things less. It is that they have made a decision so deep and so non-negotiable that the feeling becomes irrelevant. They do not consult their emotions before they begin. They begin, and they trust that the feeling will follow the action, not precede it. And as that daily discipline quietly rewires the way they see themselves, something begins to stir beneath the surface, something that goes far beyond routine, far beyond habit, far beyond even the goal itself. You are the most important character in the story of your life, and every morning you rise, every fear you walk through, every vision you protect, and every disciplined choice you make is a vote cast for the hero you are still becoming. McConaughey's truth was never about fame or fortune. It was about the relentless, daily pursuit of the best possible version of himself, 10 years ahead, always just out of reach but never out of sight. All 5 of these keynotes, the own mornings, the rejected waiting, the self-defined success, the unshakable discipline, were never separate lessons. They were always one single story, your story, building brick by brick towards something magnificent. So rise today, move forward with everything you are, and become, unapologetically, relentlessly, one intentional sunrise at a time, the hero you were always meant to be.